Hi, welcome to North of 48. Geez, I am red. My whole background's red. It's +6 in northern Canada, and we're loving it. Yeah. I want to start off with going to be some editing today. RCMP have busted the largest, most sophisticated drug lab in Canada. More than $485 million in illicit drugs and drug ingredients were seized in a rural BC community. Funny thing is about this is that yesterday, a tractor trailer carrying $1.5 million worth of cocaine was stopped at the American border, and we're glad that it was stopped at the American border because those people will probably get jail time. There were 7 people captured. They found guns, and most of their names end with Singh. I'm not implying. I'm just saying. We're joined by Hoot and Holler, Jim Earl. Hi, Jim. How are you?
Hey,
Hey,
how
buddy.
you doing? How you doing, Walter?
Good. I hear your cocaine shipment got stopped there, Jim.
Well, that was just a decoy. The bigger shipment just went over today,
Okay.
or I should say under. We have tunnels.
Well, people need their stuff, I suppose. Jim, we had incident in Vancouver, and I mentioned this in our last
Yeah.
podcast, not with you, but
Hmm.
so there's a woman was burning the Canadian flag in Vancouver.
Oh, good. I mean,
Uh,
no, bad. Sorry.
right, it's a pro-Palestinian group called. You'd figure I'd have all this at my fingertips, but I don't.
Because you're high on crack.
Well, my cocaine shipment didn't come in. So, oh yeah, okay. I picked the article that doesn't name the. Anyways, she's also in Toronto and for a conference, and the UN representative was supposed to go to the same conference and said, "No, I ain't going with that woman." And her group is now put on the terrorist list. Canada, America, the UK, and the European Union. And in Canada, you can say all sorts of things. You can burn the Canadian flag, but when it's an immigrant doing it. So I want to talk to you about this immigrant person. She's from Seattle.
Yes.
So why are you Americans coming up here burning Canadian flags? Like, what the heck's wrong with
I don't know. You're part of the one of three countries in the world against the 80-90% of the rest of the world who are backing Israel and the genocide. Does that have anything to do with it?
you? I don't think so. I think that's pissing in your own pool, Jim. I think if you're living here in this country, you shouldn't do crap like that. Why can't, if they're
Why
going to,
not?
if they're going to protest, because I find it offensive anyways. A Canadian can do it. That's fine. But when we're bringing in someone from America to burn our flag, I mean, like, what is wrong with this picture, right?
Well, Americans are known for burning their own flags.
I
What's wrong
do.
with that?
Well, what's wrong with protesting the Israeli embassy instead of schools and universities?
Well, I don't know what she was burning the flag for. I didn't hear that. I mean,
Well, it's yeah, well, it's Palestinian affiliated. I mean, it
mhm.
doesn't do good. It doesn't do justice for their cause by doing stuff like that because you automatically turn off a lot of people, I would suggest.
Hmm. You say that people say that a lot about a lot of things, like people stopping traffic for environmental reasons and causes. And say, man, you know, come on. I think there's some things more important than your convenience
My
and
convenience.
your so-called civility and rules of comportment when it comes flag, making them sacred. You can never touch them in the wrong way, say
I
anything bad
I
about
didn't
them.
say you couldn't do it. I'm saying that to prove a point, this American coming over, we don't need more crap from America. That's what I'm saying because we can do a lot more on our own.
Well, we're just trying to help out. That's
Well,
all.
do you remember the 70s? Well, of course you do. Well, maybe it depends. Depends on if you were inebriated or not. I remember a lot of the American flags being burnt by Vietnam drafters.
Yeah.
Yeah,
Oh,
as
can I interrupt for a second?
you sure can.
Someone is waiting to be joined so they can watch.
Oh,
Uh,
well,
uh,
and if you want to watch as well, send me an email and we'll get you a participation.
Yeah, I think
rivet.
Martha Private,
Private.
Pri- Privite.
Okay. That's nice. Anyways, the 70s and burning American flags. Now, I
Yeah,
would never burn an American flag.
why not? You have a right to. Why not?
Well,
Why is that against the law? It's ridiculous. You can burn a Nazi flag, can't you?
yes, you can. And
Well, then,
actually, there was two farmers in southern Alberta had swastika flags or Nazi flags.
hmm
One pulled it down after outrage. The other guy left it up. That's how lenient we are up in Canada, right? I mean, but why is an American burning a Canadian flag? That's crap.
Well, because your country
No,
is
no,
part
burn
of
your own flag. Burn your own flag. I
your
mean,
country is part of the genocide. Your country is supporting genocide, is it not?
no, actually, we sent quite a bit of funds over for the victims in Gaza.
So what? So have we. None of it's gotten to the
Yeah, well, that's what I heard. Hamas
point.
soldiers take it and it goes on the black market or into tunnels. Is
The
that not
point
true?
is, the point is, well, no, that's not true. This is a bunch of bullshit. This is utter, yeah, yeah. People are surrounded, fenced in,
Hmm.
and starved and dehydrated and
Right.
deliberately victimized so that they will get sick and die. And that's what's happening. And for the last 60, 70 years, there have been three countries that have consistently propped this apartheid
Hmm.
brutality up. And one of them has been the U.S.
You know,
I
the
believe,
the
I believe has been Canada, and the others,
the two-state
Australia.
solution, two-state solution. I'm not sure whether you agree with it or not. It's been suggested a couple of times, and it was the Palestinian people. Oh, sorry, the PLO or whoever representing them said no to it.
No, that's not true. That's,
That's true.
it,
Yasser Arafat said no.
no, it's not. You're repeating the same
I
tired,
am
worn
because
out
I don't know
stories.
anything different.
Yes.
That's why I have guys like you on the show because you can steer me right.
Well, if you know who could steer you right on that is Noam Chomsky.
No,
Oh yeah, no, what? No, you hate Noam Chomsky? Why?
I
What did he
don't
do to
hate
you?
him. I just
He has a very good grasp of the history of Israel and its relationship with Arabic people
Mhm.
and Palestine. And there's a long, sordid history of uh, peace agreements and trying to stop the slaughter there and
Mhm.
apartheid there, and with agreements and a long history of Israel just evading them, saying that they agree, but they don't act on it. And decades of it. People are surprised why things like 9/11 happen or October 7th happen. Suddenly they think it's something like that comes out of the blue. Like, we're flummoxed. Oh, well, why do people hate us? And there's a lot being unsaid here. There's called the lie of omission.
I agree. Let me bring this up for you, Jim. Having trouble with share. Nothing's being shared, right?
Oh, I see it. I see it.
Oh, do you? Okay.
Homelessness by country. Yeah.
That's correct. Yeah. So the UK has got quite a bit. I'm surprised Canada isn't on here because we have immigrants now that are homeless and they're using the food banks and stuff to survive up here and students from other countries. Where's the US in this? Okay. So while the UK wins over the US, I guess, sleeping on the street versus temporary accommodation. The US is ahead in people sleeping on the street, followed by Belgium and Portugal and Germany. So
Well, we have better weather.
you, you must have very good street, comfortable street.
No, no, we got terrible streets, but we got better weather, I guess, right? That's
Mm-hmm,
why there's
mm-hmm,
so many homeless people in California.
mm-hmm.
Uh,
I was gonna say I never did get that cat jerky recipe from you. I think last time I talked to you.
it's very easy. Take an ordinary cat
Okay.
and you jerk it around and you
Mm-hmm.
let it dry with some chemicals and some choice herbs and spice.
Okay.
And you leave it in your closet for a few weeks,
Right.
like some neighbors that we know. And
It sounds like some good Maine food right there. Cat
well, it
jerky.
is. Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. I could see that.
People roughing it all the time eating cat jerky out here in Maine.
right?
Yeah, and moose jerky. You can't tell
Well,
moose from cat. You cannot tell moose from cat here. I bet you couldn't.
I think one's a white meat, I would think.
No, I'm talking sexually.
Oh, okay. No, that's true. But actually, moose jerky is a thing up here in Canada. Moose roast.
I bet. I
It
bet it
is.
is. Just, next step from moose to human beings.
I don't doubt that too as
You,
well.
you
However
heard it here
popular.
first.
Okay. Let me get your thoughts on the election, Jim, if I may. Michigan is really interesting. You know how a lot of people think, well, the Muslim population in Michigan, a lot of people think they're left wing. I would suggest they're right wing because not socially progressive. And apparently, Trump seems to have got some of the Muslim vote.
According to the polls, Jill Stein gets the majority
Well, that would be
of
good,
Arab American voters,
right?
and following close behind is Harris, and Trump isn't getting very much of anything.
Right.
So
Well, the polling, so there's two polling. There's the right wing polling, there's the left wing polling. Which polling's true? Do you think Harris has a shot here? Is she?
a shot for winning
Yeah,
the whole election. I think
yeah,
that's a slim chance. Yes, it's her
right,
choice too. It's her choice if she wants to win. She could make some. Well, she still has time to make some clean policy breaks from Joe Biden, but she won't.
right. Well, you know the Appalachians, is it North Carolina, where the devastation was up there?
Yeah.
Right. Apparently, a lot of those people have used early voting, and with all the trouble that came out of there, and people hunting FEMA, apparently there were a couple of armed gangs.
Hmm.
I'm going to suggest they might go for Trump up there. I'm not sure though.
Well,
Right?
North Carolina. Are you talking about the Arab Americans in North Carolina? I didn't, or
No,
just North
I
Carolina?
switched just to American.
Yeah. Well, it's North Carolina.
Yeah, yeah. But they've got record turnout on early voting now, Jim.
Well, uh,
And there's a record voting throughout your nation, which is fantastic, I guess, right?
for early voting, or
Yeah.
just in general. I guess we won't know for sure until
No, but
after the election is fully counted 12 months from now.
well, I'm glad the soap opera is coming to an end, and then we got to wait 4 years for another season. This has been a long road. The last 12 years has just really been absorbing. It's depressing, is actually.
Yeah.
How do you keep your head afloat? How do you manage
Well, I
this? Well, you only
uh,
got another 30 years left, so don't worry about it, I guess, right?
hey, don't shortchange me. I'd say 31, 31, maybe
Okay. All right.
30 years, and then probably another 15 after that, uh,
Hmm.
due to science, the advances in science. So it'd be a disembodied head in a jar.
I don't doubt it if we will see Trump's head in a jar at one point. Frees himself for posterity. He's going to make a comeback.
I hope so. Right next to that famous baseball
Well,
player in Texas, right?
and Walt
Who's
Disney.
Walt Disney? I think that was a kind of a rumor. I hate to dispel a lot of.
You are a
Yeah,
truth sayer, Jim. That's what I like about you.
I mean, it's funny. I guess I still make jokes about it. Why
Do
not?
you?
Well,
Okay.
yeah, Walt Disney, freezing his head jokes. Sure,
Hmm.
there's got to be
Hmm.
something there.
Right. I seen a neat one about was it Ricky Gervais about Auschwitz and Walt Disney. Apparently Walt Disney might have been a sympathizer to
With
Nazis.
I heard that too. I can't, I get these mixed up, with Henry Ford and
Yeah.
what's his face who flew across the Atlantic in
Hmm.
1929.
Did
All the
you
fame.
did you hear the Trump speech where he said my dad, Donald Trump speaking, my dad said you can't mention Nazis or Hitler. Did you hear that speech?
No,
No,
no.
I just heard a little sound bite about it. And then he says, now they're calling us Nazis and I'm Hitler. Trump said that.
Well, I'm glad he did. Somebody
Yeah,
had to say it.
I don't know
I'm
who his
sure.
writer is, but
I'm sure it won't make any difference to anyone.
yeah. Have you ever been in a campaign like a writer for a campaign at all, Jim, in your years of living?
No, but I think we did kind of. I think at Air America we were assigned to write a few jokes for Democrats. They may have gone to John Kerry at one point, but of course they never used them.
Mm,
But that does happen with certain comedy show. You may have a politician who's friendly with one of the producers or something, and
hmm.
they ask for some jokes, and
Well,
then they
I,
never
I
use them.
I tried to watch Stephen Colbert the other night. I
I'm
really
sorry.
can't. He is switched from his nice pretend to be a rate guy, the Colbert Report, to his TV show now. I have a hard time watching.
Well, I don't watch it anymore either because he's an unctuous cornball, and
You mean he's a Catholic,
yeah, that too. That
right?
bullshit. I'm tired of hearing all about Jesus and things that are mythical coming out of his mouth when it comes to important issues and
Well, he doesn't
things.
believe in one God. He believes in three gods. It was the Ricky Gervais segment I was watching. My YouTube algorithm got
Yeah.
screwed up.
Father,
And
Son, Holy Ghost.
yeah, yeah, that's right.
You don't forget there was the Jesus's throne. At to the left of him sat his favorite woodchuck,
Hmm.
holy woodchuck, Wally.
Um, is Susan Collins running this term or is it 2 years from now?
Oh,
Oh, you froze up there, Jim.
hello.
Hi, you're all green.
Yeah, what happened there? Oh,
I don't
share
know.
screen. Oh,
No, it's your camera, Jim.
what's my camera do?
Okay, this is just the live segment, so I can
Says
make things
connected.
good in editing. Oh my
There
God.
we
Oh,
go.
there you are. What happened? What did you do?
I don't know. Suddenly it just went out. It froze, and then I had to go through two systems here: the Zoom
Hmm.
and the my camera system.
Right. So,
Figure out what happened. Oh,
well,
by the way, one of your
uh,
viewers wanted to make the point that Martha Previte,
Martha Prevey.
Previti,
Yeah.
Privitere.
Oh, yeah.
Who cares? Well, anyway, she ran for office once. When was that? And anyway, and she got two school committee terms. She ran for
Really?
school in a city of 72,000, and she got 45% of the vote.
That's pretty darn good.
Ran twice in 2 years, I think. Yeah.
Wow.
It's her
Oh, that's
birthday coming up. There's a birthday coming up.
well, happy birthday, Martha. It's your birthday. In the club? Are you taking her to the club?
I'm taking her to the clubs. Yeah. And we're going dancing, a lot of dancing places, and then we're going to a meth lab, and then we're going to burn down a barn, and then push over a couple of moose because it's Maine.
Moose tipping is famous in Maine. I hear you. I hear you. Well, that's very good. Um, Happy birthday to her if she's listening. We don't know.
Guess how
But
old she is.
no, I don't want to. She's a fine-looking lady, Jim, I have to say.
That sounds like you're talking about a horse. How dare you?
Oh, no tipping Martha either, right? Only moose tipping, not
Only
not
for, only on a bet.
okay. So your thoughts on the election, my friend? What's going to happen?
I think it's going to be very, very close. I think Harris has a good chance of winning by a
How
and
much? Yeah.
and nothing will change.
Well, if Trump won, things would change, wouldn't they?
I
Or would
guess
they?
so. I guess so, and may energize Democrats more, and may destroy the Democratic Party, which would be a good thing. I think the Democratic Party should be destroyed and
Hmm. Hmm.
uh, give up on that thing. It's like a shitty used car. You keep putting money into it year after year after year, trying to repair it, and it just breaks. And then the next thing you know, the front suspension goes down, and you're stuck in a fucking snowbank, and you're freezing to death. That's what's happening here.
There's
Remember, it's
nothing.
2016. We learned nothing from Hillary, and by 2020, Biden, Democrats didn't learn anything from
Hmm.
Hillary.
Hmm.
And now, 2024, Democrats haven't learned anything from Hillary and Biden.
I
Yeah,
almost
there's no
almost get
reason, No reason why, I'm sorry, there's no reason why any candidate that's worth anything and has any ethics and morality whatsoever should be neck and neck with somebody like Donald Trump.
I agree with you there, my friend. I I I agree. I'm not sure why it's close. Maybe America is maybe they're I don't know, right wing more than they used to be, or I'm not sure. Like you've always been socially progressive to a point. I'm not sure you've ever been like Bernie's type as people, right?
What you
I
mean, America collectively?
yeah, yeah, because you got
Well,
a lot of people who won't take Medicare because they don't want a government handout. I've seen stories
well,
on that, right?
everybody takes Medicare. When retirement comes around, they take it.
Yeah.
You know,
Well, they earned that, right? They worked for that. But I mean,
Bernie Sanders polled terrifically,
he did.
through most of the campaign, and everything he ran on, his platform polled wonderfully with the Republicans as well, and
Yes.
expanding Medicare
Yes.
single, it's to everyone, that polls great, and it did that back then.
Right.
But you have people like Biden and Harris pretending to run on those things and calling themselves progressives in the last election,
Hmm.
and it just wears people out, and it's disillusioning. It's just fucking dispiriting when these
Hmm.
people lie through their teeth, and then they go on what's his face's show, and Harris is cornered.
Joe Rogan.
No, what you were just talking about him,
Oh, it's Colbert.
Colbert. Yeah, remember when she after a debate, and he asked her about the debate after she ran with Biden, and he asked, "Well, what happened to all those things you ran on, Medicare for all, and banning fracking and the Green New Deal?" And
Hmm.
she laughed like a silly idiot and
Hmm.
said, "It was a debate."
Well, I
Uh,
remember her saying about Medicare that she was on board with Bernie's plan, right?
yeah, of course.
And now that's all gone.
She stands for nothing. Anybody who says they're willing, that they hope they would like to get a Trumper in their administration, stands for nothing.
Because of the Democrats don't have a clear choice like Bernie. Well, they screwed that up, but like a Bernie guy who
Mhm.
had all these terrific policies. I think that's why Trump gets as much traction as he does.
Yeah, and Trump, horrific as he is, he knows how to tell enough truth about Democrats that which Democrats will not admit, and about Medicare for all and all these, and warmongering and endless wars, and the Green New Deal, and he can pretend to rib them for their grandstanding on that and
Hmm.
doing nothing while pretending to be further to the left than they are. And of course, he's lying about that. But he
Hmm.
points out the hypocrisies that Democrats routinely flail about in the hypocrisy soup. And
What does Noam Chomsky think about the election? Or does he? Did he mention anything?
this election, I think he says the Trump existential threat, but I don't think he's said that much lately because he's been very sick. He's had a stroke
Oh, I'm sorry to hear.
in Brazil, and it may be the end of the road for him.
My,
But people, and of course, Democrats keep bringing him out and quoting him on, well, to promote Biden and or Harris.
hmm, hmm. Well, you know
But
what they say, for first Kissinger, then Chomsky.
no, nobody said that. What
Nobody
do you
said
mean? Nobody said.
that.
Name why, why would you even bring them up in the same sentence? I don't understand that.
Well, Kissinger, he was quiet for a long time. Then he said something about Ukraine, which was wrong, and then reversed himself. But everybody thought, oh, Kissinger's still alive at the time. And I don't think he is now, right? He's passed, right?
No, he's dead. Yeah,
Yeah, yeah.
yeah. I wrote an obit on him.
They
That's
they
before he
buried
died.
him. They buried him 8 feet. They buried him deep.
Let's hope.
But yeah, no, Chomsky, when he was younger, some of his stuff was really electric.
But you
He left.
dislike him for some reason? You don't like?
I don't like his view on the war in Ukraine. I really don't, and
So how far do you want to go with it?
well, out of all the money that Americans have passed in Congress, the billions of dollars, they've only got a couple of percentage of that in Ukraine. And with what little they got this year from the Americans, they've done a fantastic job of holding Russia at bay. Russia's interest rates now are at 21%. Having to bring in North Vietnamese soldiers. Do we not have a world war now because we didn't properly fund the Ukraine army at the time?
No, I think we have World War III now because we did fund the Ukraine war. And as Chomsky quoted some other military expert, that we are engaged in a war and we're going to fight Russia down to the last Ukrainian. And that's what's happening.
Well,
Ukraine cannot survive without us propping up this war.
actually
And
they can't. They can't.
how they don't have they
No, they still got the European Union. They still have Canada. What I'm saying is the American stuff would have put them over.
you're gonna go Canada's gonna go broke funding this endless ridiculous war that's gonna destroy Ukraine just like Israel has destroyed Gaza. It's a war of attrition and
Well,
money. You think nobody can beat Russia? You're kidding?
okay, okay.
They have all the they have money to waste on North Korean mercy, and they're going to fight this war down to the last North Korean.
No, so what they did, it wasn't money for with the North Korean. It was nuclear technology. It's wheat, it's grain. That's what Russia's given to North Korea.
Yeah,
Technology, and Kim there, he'll build a nuclear bomb. And this is a result of not tackling the problem in the first place.
war.
It's probably a result of Obama not saying anything too much about Crimea, and Putin saying, "Well, I got away with that. Let's keep going." And you know what? You're going to think I'm your next door neighbor right now, and I'm sorry.
Puff away, baby.
Yeah.
No, I don't think I don't think you end war. I don't think you deal with aggression by starting another war in the process.
That's right. Why did Putin do that?
I don't know. Why do we have NATO? Why does NATO surround their borders? And why have they been doing
Bullshit.
that for 50 years now?
No,
What,
that's
NATO's not on their borders?
well, they are, but why do you think these Baltic states says, "Oh, can we join NATO, please?" It's because they were under Russian oppression before. They know
Yeah,
what the
well,
Soviet style is.
and they don't want to be on NATO's bad side either. They're
No,
stuck in between. They're between a rock and a hard place. Two
well, yeah, because
superpowers. The two superpowers battling it out with their little proxy wars. And I can
listen,
guarantee you, this is why would we allow Russia into Cuba? We didn't back in 1964, 62. It's the same thing. What right do we have to fund and go to Russia's border? We're not the policemen of the world. We obviously are incompetent at that. We aren't the peacemakers of the world. We're the most destructive and violent place on earth, to paraphrase Martin Luther King during the Vietnam War. It's the same
I
thing we're
have
doing. We're destroying Vietnam like we did. We're destroying Ukraine like we did Vietnam, because we must not let Chinese communists.
well, the funny thing about Vietnam was the Vietnamese really liked America and they wanted America's help in overthrowing the French. And American policy really screwed that up, didn't they?
Well, American policy always screws things up when they try
And
to
now,
install democracies at gunpoint. That's not how you help people. That's not how you help Ukraine sending weapons. It's not how you help Israel send
mhm,
weapons to them. Look what happened.
true. But then you have Iran sending weapons to Hamas, right? So it's quid
Well,
pro quo. Not as good
Iran.
weapons as America, but
No, this is no contest.
right. Did you hear about?
And again, I don't know why you're so surprised. You act like you're kind of surprised that
I'm Canadian. I'm always surprised.
much of the
Why
world
can't people be polite and
hates
get
us.
along?
Why do like good question. Why don't we
Kumbaya,
stay
Jim.
out?
Kumbaya.
Why do we have so many bases in and around Arabic countries?
Because
Why are
they
we
pay you
always in
for it.
their business?
They pay you
Mm,
to be there.
they? Okay.
Saudi wants you to protect them,
Well, Saudis, yes, because they're
right?
corrupt and dictators.
Kuwait wants you to protect them.
Why do we always fund dictatorships
Well,
against democracies in
so then
South
you're going. So
America
if you go with
and
the
Africa?
Africa is a, can I say it? It's a shit show between the
Yeah,
Russians and the Americans in there and the French. Holy mackerel. So why do people get involved with other wars, right?
because we're not helping Ukraine. We're not helping Ukraine. We're trying to wreck
Well, you're not helping
and
because
bank.
you haven't got the promised goods to them, Jim.
What are you talking about? We've sent
Jim, with a
billions and billions of dollars
no, you've only sent a
how
small
much money?
percentage of that. Biden hasn't released the funds yet.
That's baloney. Absolute baloney.
Come on.
What do you
I
mean,
read
come
it in the
on? What are you
Washington
reading?
Post.
What are you reading from the Weekly Reader?
No, Washington Post and Dave
The
Rubin. No, I don't watch
Reader's
Dave Rubin.
Digest?
Well, I used to really like Reader's Digest. That was nice.
I bet you love the no, never mind.
They used to have these little jokes in them and stuff. So
That's right.
yeah.
No, we're not helping anybody. We're not helping Ukraine. We're destroying Ukraine. We didn't help Vietnam. We destroyed the whole country. We
Yes, you
destroyed,
did.
yeah,
And yeah,
the whole we didn't help Korea. We burned and destroyed and bombed every town and village in that whole peninsula, and our generals were proud of it, and we still couldn't win.
true.
So what we're doing is we're trying to win proxy wars of depletion against Chinese communists and Russia, trying
Right.
to make them unstable to the point where their governments are destroyed and they wreak havoc on each other. And
But
we're trying to destabilize these countries because we're still fixated on the Wolfowitz doctrine era with George W. Bush, who should be in jail for war
right.
crimes, but no, he's part of the resistance now and friends of the Clintons and the Obamas, and he's a Democrat now.
Right. So you're a Brzezinski fan then, I take it, right?
Which Brzezinski,
The one who
the
died. Uh,
piano player? He got some great Russian piano players.
Here's my view on Ukraine. If they would have got the arms that they needed to begin with, this would have been over. If there would have been some pushback with Crimea, this might not have happened. I think I mean, Russia's doing exactly what America does, right? The world, well, okay. The UN, how toothless of an organization is that nowadays? Do you remember when
Just
they used to have security for Israel and stuff like that between them and the Palestinians? They used to. I think George Bush ruined it by going into Iraq without UN approval.
I mean,
It
that's a
is
war crime.
it's a toothless. Yes, it is toothless organization now, and UNRWA is very much under the microscope right now for all those
Helping people?
Hamas teachers tended to be UNRWA.
Come on.
Come on,
Listen,
volunteers.
listen,
I just got a letter from UNRWA too asking me to donate. I'm
you
not going
should.
to. I'm not going to. No.
Yeah. Just because you said you're not going to, I'm going to donate double now.
I hope so. That would be like you taking away your dad's vote by voting the opposite of what he
Yeah.
believed in.
If he was going to do something stupid like that, I'd gladly do that.
Yeah, I agree with you on
But
that, Jim.
the
You know,
UN is toothless because there's only one vote that counts at the
on the
United Nations, and that's the United States vote. And
well,
the United States controls the UN like it controls NATO. And we are the aggressors. We are the main aggressors on this globe and have been since the end of World War II.
but on the Human Rights Council, you have Saudi Arabia as leading it, or they were anyways,
Leading
on
it?
women's rights and stuff. I mean, that's what I mean. It's so maybe Trump had a good idea not funding the UN. What do you think?
No, I disagree with that.
Well,
Sorry. I disagree.
well, they sure tried to straighten out, but the UN, well, a good Eleanor Roosevelt, she was very high on it, right?
Yeah.
Well, a good thought is been I do you not think it's been corrupted between America, Russia, and the Arabian nations with all the oil money, and China too as well?
I think it's been corrupted by the United States and Israel and maybe Canada and Australia.
Well, Canada had
Uh,
a big movement with the UN in the 60s, Lester Pearson. And I think his heart was in the right place. Uh, he was a fairly good prime minister here in this country at the time. But do we need to reform the UN? And how can we do it so it's better?
yes, yes, we need to throw out Israel and the United States.
Then you
And
have to throw out Russia and China.
they're rogue states committing genocide.
But then who would listen to the UN without the United States and
It's
Russia?
good. It's a good question. We wouldn't, sorry, but 80% of the world disagrees, is against what we're doing
Where? You mean all over the
in
place?
Gaza to the Palestinians. It's just you
It
got
is.
to pay attention to that at some point
Mm,
in your life as a country,
right.
or
It
else
is.
you are self-destructing. And I think we are self-destructing. This country, the United States, cannot survive this genocide, and I don't think Israel will either. I think Israel is destroying itself. I think Israel is its own worst enemy,
I
and
think it's politics or its worst enemy. Yeah. But you know what?
I don't think they can survive this genocide.
Right.
It's why it's not. I don't think any country has a. I don't think countries have rights anyway. They're not human beings, but I don't think any country has a right
Mhm.
to be a country when they're conducting a genocide and an apartheid,
Fair.
and we're paying for it. I don't
But
think, I think that kind of destroys the whole aspect of land of the home of the free and the
right.
brave and
Right.
yada yada.
Well, Jim, let me put it to you this way. Netanyahu, not a liked man, corrupt, a lot of bribery scandals, looking at jail time at the time when he's not prime minister.
Hmm.
On his last legs, Hamas made him look good, made him look strong, and now he's got some support because of this war.
Well, Hamas, he
I mean,
supported
uh,
Hamas. He
yeah,
he
well,
fed it.
right. And Hamas is the only organization that could have made Netanyahu look good. And boy, did they make him look good in Israelis' eyes. Not
Yeah, I guess
necessarily
so.
yours or the American or the world, but
Well, there
right,
may be something fundamentally wrong with Israeli
right.
society, and a lot of Israelis have uh, pointed that.
Yes, they have. And there's a lot of Jews who are against the war there and against, I hesitate to call it genocide. You call it genocide. I call it overkill, that's for sure. 43,000 Palestinians dead. I mean, holy mackerel.
Upwards of 300
300,000.
when you count for displacement, future deaths due to
Right.
disease and starvation, and of course all that rubble is hiding a lot of dead people. And
True.
so like the Iraq war, it's going to take years to figure
Hmm.
out the correct estimate of fatalities of those killed and murdered.
Right.
But I think the Lancet has had a couple of estimates like that over the last, saying there could be in the hundreds of thousands.
Hmm.
So, and it is a genocide. If you can't define this as a genocide, then you can't define anything. People are being picked on. Racism, their land is being stolen. People are being executed. Children, caregivers, doctors are being assassinated by sniper fire.
Hmm.
Children are. Over 100 journalists have shot and targeted by Israelis.
True.
So this is a genocide. And when you have people appropriating the clothing, IDF members going into people's houses that they've blown up, killed the inhabitants, and dressing up in female clothing and destroying cultural landmarks and bulldozing cemeteries and that is ethnic cleansing / genocide.
There's no difference between that and ISIS-K,
Just
taking
what
down Buddha statues, taking down monuments, and
I
killing
agree,
other
but
people for their religion or lack of.
this religious fundamentalism that has something to do with this, but it's also settler colonialism too. And you don't, this is the very definition. It goes beyond religion. People can use religion as an excuse. Well, this is a chosen land, but also it's just about racist assholes
Do you
who
think the
want to steal
Israeli
land.
Israeli government is no Palestinians, no problem. Is that their mantra right now?
Think that's been their
Part of it,
mantra since the very beginning. You
right?
have in the Israeli charter or Israeli records the generals and leaders of early country referring to the Arab population dust, human dust.
Hmm.
You need to mow the lawn, the Arabic population. And when you have members of the Israeli government brazenly using the same kind of speech and words to describe Palestinians as the fascists did in Nazi Germany
Right.
to describe Jews, then it's not hard to put together
So I think
dots here.
I think Chomsky said about the Ukrainians. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong. If they just would have protested and not armed themselves, would have been a better outcome, right?
I don't know
I
if
don't know if he said
he
that
said
or if it
that.
was the peace leader project of the peace leader
But
said.
yeah, it would have been. I we
Well,
don't we
then
don't we
then
don't know
what?
how many have been. We don't know how many Ukrainians have been killed by.
Then
We don't
why
have the
why
correct
why
number
didn't Hamas and the Palestinians do the same thing?
because
With the seeing the overwhelming force of Israel, why didn't they just say, okay, yeah, stand down, arms, we'll protest peacefully, or
well,
we'll get
you're
in front of
pretending.
tanks like in
Well,
China?
you're you're pretending
I'm not pretending. No,
Palestine has any kind of military. Where's their air force? Where's their power? They have no power.
I seen
They're
I seen their
apartheid.
Air Force motorcycles with kites. They flew right in
Yeah,
Israel.
yeah, that's
Yeah,
cute. That's
yeah,
really
I know
cute. No,
it's cute, but
that's asinine. They're not in any position of power like Ukraine.
well,
Sorry,
you're saying.
there's no comparison.
Well, it is if the result's the same. You don't need a
No,
military. Yeah, 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 yeah. So
Russia
people,
is not. Russia is not an occupying force in Ukraine, right? And they haven't been
Jim,
occupying
Jim,
it for the
come on,
last 76 years. They
come
haven't
on.
surrounded it and treated it like an apartheid fenced in open air prison. All right. There's a big difference. Plus, we're funding Israel. We're not funding Russia. That's another big difference there. That's a moral and ethical problem for the
But
United States.
Jim, I think the theory holds well. If the Ukrainians were expected to be like the Chinese and get in front of tanks and protest peacefully, same thing could have been with the Palestinian people too, as well. Don't you think? Don't you think the leadership? Don't you think the leadership, for the sake of their own people, should have left that country? The ones who started the October 6th massacre, Jim?
Well, are you talking about Ukraine or
No, I'm
Gaza
drawing a
right now?
parallel to what people wanted in Ukraine. People who said that Ukraine shouldn't have held arms up and just greet the Russians, but protest, like get in front of their tanks and stuff like that, instead of trying to roll them out of the Ukraine. Couldn't the same thing happen in Palestine? Like, couldn't they have been, what do you call the word? Dukabors. The word when you don't want war, when you pacifists. Couldn't they have been pacifists in Palestine? See, my whole approach to this is
What? Why are you comparing
I'm
people
drawing a
living in a
parallel to
fenced-in people who forced into an open-air fenced-in prison for the last 76? Why are you comparing that to a country that has its own military and that has its own economy and it has the luxuries and that Gaza doesn't have?
you don't see the parallel there? Then I
No, I
made a
don't.
bad
Because
then I made
no,
a
I
bad
don't.
case. What I'm saying is Russians came in there, they were going to overturn the government, right? The people's will. Don't you think that was something to fight against? Now
In
in Ukraine.
Ukraine,
Oh yeah, they were going to kill Zelensky. They were going to be done with him.
I don't. I think you're making a lot of assumptions about Russia.
No,
Russia doesn't want a NATO
no, that's what they
country.
say. It's an excuse. They've said the
Mhm.
opposite for lots of years, and now Putin's just here with this excuse. Oh no, because we
I
didn't want NATO. That's not true at all.
I think you're a bit
That's been
a little
debunked.
bit foggy on your
No, no,
facts here, your
no,
historical
that's been
remembrances of what's
that
happening in the
that's been
last
debunked quite a bit.
100 years.
Tim. It's
No, it
been
hasn't
debunked.
been debunked. It
Yes, it
has not
has.
been debunked. The Zelensky was going
Putin
to
wanted into NATO at
wanted
one time. Putin said it's okay for countries to go into NATO at one time. So, no, he wanted the land, and by golly, He's tried to accomplish. It's a mistake what Russia did into Ukraine. Over 700,000 dead of Russians. I don't know how many Ukrainians.
But where are you getting that? I agree with you that it was a war crime and a
Mhm.
mistake, but where are you getting 700,000 dead Russians? And
That's what the IS,
can't you quote to me how many Ukrainians have been killed?
because they don't
Because
release
it's horrifically large. That's
the ISW has International something of war has released those figures. Let me bring it up for you, Jim. What I'm saying is was there another way that Palestine could have handled so there wasn't so much dread and killing?
I don't know. Was there another way for South Africa, the African National Congress, to
The
against
ANC,
their yeah? Was there another way for them to act against their
well,
racist oppressors? A bit before they were labeled terror. Nelson Mandela was still on the American terrorist list years
yeah,
after he won a victory there.
right.
So
No, I know. It's just that as a human species, we're so dumb. Where are the great thinkers in this world to help us not evolve into war, right? So
well, there's
here's from the IS.
Noam Chomsky has been pretty great thinker and doing a lot of talking for most of
Mhm.
his life. If people
Right.
should pay attention to him instead of scoffing at him and saying, well, we got to supply more weapons to this endless war and war of attrition that's not going to end well for anybody. And it's killing an atrocious amount of Ukrainians. And we are fighting a war to the last Ukraine against Russia. And that's all we care about. This country doesn't care about anyone it claims to be helping.
Do you see the from the ISW the screen that I posted there?
Yeah,
Right. So
the
almost
ISW.
700,000 Russians dead, and this is the reports from the General Staff of the Armed Forces of Ukraine. Um,
Okay,
so
well, it's Ukraine. Why won't what does Ukraine say about their loss?
about half was the last estimate that I had. Exactly. They're not going to release that till the war's over. I get it. You're right, Jim, on that. But
I
war.
think it's pointless. I think it's pointless. The whole war is pointless. If they want to live and they want something, a building to stand,
Mhm.
left standing in Ukraine, I think
Right.
they should have done what Zelensky wanted a long time ago and find a diplomatic
Yeah.
solution with Putin. And he was told not to by America and NATO.
No, yeah, I think judging Zelensky, if he thought that was best for his country, he would have done that, Jim. No,
No,
where are you getting your information from saying that? That was also part of Mearsheimer's argument, but that was debunked as well.
by by
That
whom?
he was
How
told
was it
not to.
debunked?
But you're saying Boris Johnson told him not to, we'll back you and stuff like that. There was a great big article on that. And no, that wasn't the case. The case was Russia came in. And he was looking at giving up parts of the Donbass and Crimea and just settling this. He didn't want the war, as far as from what I've read on. I don't know him personally, so and I don't think that the United States twisted his arm to go to war. I don't think that.
You don't think the United
No,
States
I don't think you can
twists the
take.
arm
No,
of countries that rely on our aid and our military largesse? You don't think that we twist the arm of these people?
no, not in this case. No, no, I don't.
Why
I
would
don't
this be the exception to the 200-year-old rule
because it's
of
not
our country?
Africa. Because
Because they're white?
they're Ukrainian.
Because they're white? You're saying that
No,
we wouldn't twist their arm because they're white?
no, I don't think. I think. Well, he was encouraged to leave and to set up a government outside of Ukraine,
Okay. Well,
right? By America, because they didn't think he was going to win either
okay.
or
Well,
stop them.
I don't think again, I'm just going to keep repeating this. We don't do anything to help anybody. We do it to help ourselves. And we didn't look at every major military disaster we've been part of,
Hmm.
and you'll see that scenario. We don't help people. We destroy their country, kill a lot. We get a lot of their population killed in the process,
Hmm.
and it ends up being a stalemate or the whole region is just destabilized. And
Well, the good,
it's insane if we destabilize Russia,
right?
that they have like 1,500 nuclear warheads aimed right at us.
Yeah.
And you want to destabilize that country. You want that country to all of a sudden be thrust into probably a civil war where the military is arguing with civilian part of the government, and you want that to happen while they are still overseeing a decrepit nuclear arsenal pointed right at us.
Yes.
For a transcript of tonight's program, send 25 cents to Merkel Press.
The good news is murder rates are going down in the United States. So maybe you are going to be a kinder people. But as far as
that's because people are killing themselves first.
right, right. As far as Russia going down that path, no, I think they have too many Slovaki, they call them, or oligarch-like people who are. I think I don't think so. I mean, the Chechens right now have done a blood feud against some members of the Russian parliament, and they're going to kill them. Russia has taken most of the people fighting for Russia from the outlying districts who are predominantly Muslim. Once it reaches now he's to the point where he's going to have to bring people out of Moscow and St. Petersburg to arm his forces. He's not called for the draft because the last time he did it 2 years ago, there was some rumbling. And that's his base of support is Moscow and St. Petersburg. And I personally don't think Putin gives a shit about anybody in Russia except for him and his special people.
I wouldn't disagree with that at all. I mean, now take a look at us.
As
Do you
far
think
as
anybody in the White House gives a shit about what's going on? Oh, I'll veto Medicare for all if it ever comes across my desk during a deadly pandemic while 5,000 people are dying every fucking day. You can guarantee you that.
It's all good as long as Hunter loves his dad. And Joe will have the support from Hunter, right?
Hunter.
Maybe he was the one with the $1.5 million in cocaine stopped at the border between Canada and the United States, eh? Maybe it was his stuff.
Hunter provides most of the income for Canada in that respect.
Well, the way we're going, yes, you could be very well right. We need to write some more stories on Hunter in order to keep the economy of Canada going. You know,
don't forget Israel also has nuclear weapons too.
Right. So
they want to use them on Iran.
Okay.
And there we go with it. That's World War III has already started. It's just that we're a little more down.
I think it has, especially in the North Korean. I didn't think it was going to start in Israel, World War III, but it could start in the Ukraine and Russia. And all those countries are now armed to the teeth. Poland is just pulling in a massive amount of military hardware, right? Lithuania, even in Baltic, and Sweden. I mean, like Putin made Finland and Sweden join NATO. Like, who does that? Putin does. He's a stupid fellow.
Let me ask you a question. If Cuba had invaded the United States 2 times in 50 years and started a world war and killed 40 to 50 million of American citizens and Canadians, we'll put Canada. You fools would join us.
We said no to Iraq, Jim. Canada said no to Iraq.
Really? You don't have any peacekeepers anywhere with us? Anywhere? Anyway, let me finish.
We did in Afghanistan. We did in Kandahar. We did up in the with Clinton's thing.
Anyway, let me finish.
Okay, you finish. You go ahead. You got the floor. The floor is Jim's.
If North America had been invaded 2 times 50 years by Cuba and killed over 40 million of its inhabitants in a horrific series of world wars, would you want them joining NATO on your borders?
Is that a question for me, Jim?
Yes.
Okay. Jim, you are a funny guy. Look at, if Cuba invaded the USA, it wouldn't be twice. It would be once, and Cuba would be done. That's the way that works, Jim.
Okay. You know, Germany was done in 1918. Germany was quote,
Mm-hmm.
done in
Mm-hmm.
1918 didn't
Mm-hmm.
stop them from coming back a second time
Oh, well,
and
here we go with
and
talking about appeasement.
invading Russia and killing 40 million Russians. So
Russia, no, no, no.
all I'm saying is if you want to understand what's happening,
Mhm.
the motivations of people, try to understand how they feel about being surrounded by a group of countries
You know, they don't feel a friggin' thing.
led by one of the countries that killed 40 million of their civilians.
Why did 40 million die, Jim? And who was Hitler aligned with anyways to start the war? Oh, it was Russia, my friend. And they creamed
Yeah.
Poland and they creamed the people in Ukraine. They killed them, Jim.
What are you saying? What are you
W-
saying?
Well, I'm saying Hitler built Israel.
Huh?
Well, the Polish Jews that were there were trained by the Polish army. And when Germany came in, the Polish government sent the Jews to Israel, and there the war started with the United Kingdom, with the Brit,
Okay, but
and with the
back to the 40
Palestinians.
million, back to the
Oh, yeah,
having
40 million. Yeah.
Germany,
Okay. Well, it's
back to having Germany on your borders
okay.
and
It's the
amassing troops and engaging in war military exercises
and it was
with
Ukrainians and
several other countries led by the United States on your borders for decades.
it
Don't
was
you think Russia has a right to be a little nervous about that?
quite a bit of those 40 million to begin with are Ukrainians and Polish and Czechs that
Yes, they
died
were
there.
part of Russia. Yeah.
Right. Okay. Now, sure, there's Stalingrad or St. Petersburg, that atrocity.
Wait a minute, you're not
I'll-
trying to downgrade, dismiss the amount of
I'm trying to tell you
Russians
that
who
the
died in World War II,
Soviet
are you?
doctrine of war is the same as it is now. We just throw people into the blender. We give them a rake and say, go hit a German. A lot of those people were killed as the war had already turned. But Stalin wanted to be the first to get into Berlin, right? Is that not true,
I,
Jim?
I don't know what you're trying to say.
I'm trying to say a lot of those 40 million died unnecessarily, according to the Soviet doctrine of war. They threw people
You're blaming tens of millions of murdered
on
Russians
Stalin. Yes.
on
Yes, I am.
Stalin?
Yes. Just like
I
I'm
mean,
blaming 700,000 Russians
I'm not
currently on Putin.
I'm not talking about Stalin's 5-year plans or his purges.
No, no,
Okay,
I'm talking about the Second World War.
I'm talking about how many how many Russians were killed by Nazis in World War II. I mean, is
Right. And I'm saying that their
millions
yes. And why? Because the
because Nazis
Soviet military
invaded
was stupid.
Russia.
No, that's not.
Because that's why so many died because Nazis invaded Russia and
Quite a
they
few died.
slaughtered
Yes.
civilians.
Right. But it was on the turn when the Germans were retreating, is when a lot of the Russians died. Trust me on
What?
that.
Trust you? I'm not. No, I'm not trusting you. Yeah,
Well,
yeah. A lot of them
here
died.
you go
Of
talk
course, a
about.
lot of them died on the retreat, but a lot of them died on the attack.
Yes, this is true. And and
That
sure,
was the whole purpose of the attack
right,
was to kill Russians and take their land. Lebensraum.
right.
What Israel is doing to
And
Gaza.
and again, Russia was aligned with Germany for the war.
No, they weren't. They
They
made a
were
treaty at the very.
at the
Oh
very
God,
start. They
you're
both
talking
said,
about
"Well,
World
let's
War
take
One.
World." Oh, okay, you're right.
World War
World War.
One, because
Okay,
they
no,
could they were in no
my
position to
information.
fight
I'm
Germany,
talking
and
about
in
World War Two.
World
Yeah,
War Two, they did it for yes,
appeasement.
because
There was appeasement involved, wasn't there, Jim?
yes, but that is
My understanding is Germany went into the Sudetenland. Now, you correct me if I'm wrong because you
I don't
will.
care. I don't
No,
care.
no,
This has got
no,
nothing
no.
to do. I
Hitler
don't
said,
care.
"I'm taking this land back," and nobody pushed him, and he was surprised. Same thing as when Russia took Crimea.
Okay,
They were surprised he got away with it.
what is your point?
That's
The
my
point.
point.
Your
It's
point
appeasement.
is
When
got
when a
nothing
bully
to do
comes
with
in,
this.
when a bully comes in, you got to punch him in the nose, Jim,
They
and
didn't.
run
Russia
like
didn't
heck.
have the army to do anything. Just like
Ooh,
Britain didn't have an army, didn't have a military to fight Germany at the beginning of.
in well,
Okay, so
Germany didn't have quite the army either when they took the Sudetenland.
Germany had an incredible army. They
After,
had the best army
after
in Europe.
Hitler was surprised. Do you
No,
ever
they
watch
built.
World at War, Jim?
I
Remember
don't use
those?
that for my history book. Okay, and
World in War in color.
Hitler spent all of
It's
the
on YouTube.
30s building up the military and the Navy and their Air Force.
He's
Uh,
still what?
the fact remains that Nazis invaded Russia in World War II, killed tens of millions of people, Russian soldiers and Russian civilians,
Ukrainians and
right?
Polish.
And because of that, they may be a bit skittish about having a bunch of countries doing military exercises right on their border, being led by countries like the United States and Germany, who has a big military. And it's a very prestigious, wealthy country.
Why wasn't that a problem till Putin started complaining about it in 2022? Huh?
I think Russia's always had a problem
No.
with
No,
us.
they wanted to join NATO and everything. They did.
Who cares? Who cares? You don't think Russia's always had a problem with Western countries
Well, yeah, they're
aligning
jealous,
on their
aren't they?
military?
No,
That's
no. Their problem
that's
is
why
they wanted these lands to be in their sphere of control, just like America wants Cuba to be in their sphere of control, right? I get that. I get your analogy. However, Ukraine was they were their own country, as dictated by when the Soviet Union broke up, and Russia Parliament.
Cuba's their own country. Cuba's their own country. Russia should start arming Cuba again and send their military and missiles and put all their air force and a big navy in
That didn't
Cuba
work out
right
well
there.
last time, right?
Well, it nearly destroyed the world, so
Yeah.
that's how it didn't work out well.
Yeah, but they had
All right,
nuclear missiles that worked back then.
if you want to
Look
play
at
chicken like that in Russia, on the outskirts of Russia with NATO, then that's insanity, and that's why we're closest to midnight on the doomsday clock than we ever have been in the history of the doomsday.
that is true. The doomsday clock has moved ahead. Yes. Now, Jim, as far as nuclear missiles go in the Soviet Union, in Russia, sorry, China and India will have something to say about that.
How's that? What does that mean?
Well, China and India have nuclear missiles.
So what will they say about
They will say, Russia, you try this. Guess what?
Well, that sounds insane to me. Yeah, that sounds perfectly. So, yeah, that's a good way of dealing with it. So we should just let that happen, is what you're saying, instead of disarming things and we could tell Ukraine, Ukraine has a choice. Either
what's the choice, Jim?
Either succumb to what Russia wants,
right,
or be destroyed.
No.
Which would you want?
No.
No?
No. I mean, like everybody gave them 3 days and then 2 weeks. And guess what? They're still here, Jim. There's something about that country. They don't want to be dictated about Russia. It's the same as Poland. That's why Poland's armed to the teeth. They don't want none of this shit anymore, Jim. Maybe Russia should just
you live in like a Texas John Wayne cowboy movie.
No.
What are you, Clint Eastwood? We're tired of those guys coming in on horses and bullying the peasants. We're gonna team up and build up a nice little army ourselves, and we're gonna show those guys.
Jim, I'm gonna give you this theory here. And you tell me if I'm right or wrong. Putin should have used his soft diplomacy skills instead of using his military. Period.
Well, I think he did. I think he tried that. I think he tried to have a diplomatic
he didn't try hard
solution
enough,
with
man.
Zelensky, and Zelensky wanted to, and he was rejected by his
handlers, Jim.
Powers that be, the United States and NATO. So,
yeah, I don't think so. Zelensky would have done what was good for his country, my friend. I actually have no doubt.
I think it's really naive to think that Ukraine is not bullied by the U.S. to do what the U.S. really not.
Well,
that's our pattern throughout the world.
Yeah, in this case, I don't think so, Jim.
How could this possibly be the exception?
Stuff I've read, that's all I can go by. I understand that concept because I had to really think about that at the start of the war. Did the United States twist Ukraine's arm to be in the war, right? And I have come to the acknowledgement. I don't think it's wish fulfillment. I don't think that they did. I think that's to take away the onus on the people of Ukraine about what they wanted, Jim. And because they weren't part of NATO, they weren't part of the EU, they still could go their own way. And I think they had the right to defend themselves, and they did a magnificent job.
They're
Don't you think?
dying and they're going to be destroyed. Their country is destroyed right now, practically. What do you
Russia's a
want? How much more do you want these noble people to fight? And
well, yeah, and speaking of war crime, I mean Russian missiles into the energy system, um,
yeah,
hitting kindergartens and schools,
yeah,
trying to get the populace scared,
right.
right? And
Absolutely.
yeah,
It's a war crime.
it's a war
So
crime.
so how many
I
more Ukrainians have to die just to, feed our ego, this country's ego, and
I
our misplaced ridiculous notion of
I
what
think
countries
this
should be.
I think the support of this war is the only war that the United States have really got right. And if they would have got off their ass and send the stuff out, more Ukrainians would be alive today.
I think it's
I
asinine, destructive, and it's
well,
destroying and killing Ukrainians. I think it's a war crime that we're engaged feeding, and I think it has brought us close to World War III
mhm,
or a nuclear annihilation, closer than we've ever been since the Cold War. And we're doing the same thing with Israel and Gaza. Foolish, it's self-destructive,
right.
and it's destroying two countries.
Okay. Jim, let me this be my last argument then. Appeasement. He wanted Ukraine to appease Russia, let's say. Why
Be
didn't the
helpful.
same thing work in Palestine and in Gaza?
Because
Why
Palestine and
what's
Ukraine are not the same.
no, the technical term is appeasement.
The,
Why did not why did Hamas and all these guys not just stand down and say, okay, we're sorry or whatever. For our people's sake, we give up.
because they are
Why? Why, Jim?
brutalized for 70 fucking
No, bullshit.
years by in an apartheid government. That's not bullshit. That is documented fact. Now, if you want to compare Ukraine to Gaza, that's ridiculous.
No,
Apples and oranges.
I'm talking about your appeasement philosophy here. I think it holds true then. If it holds true for Ukraine, it holds true for Palestine.
Russia's not committing genocide. They're not committing
Yeah.
genocide on Ukrainians. I'm sorry. It's not the same thing. When you have
Well,
somebody committing genocide against you and fencing you into an open air prison for decades,
part
then
of
that's when you fight back and you don't stop. All right.
so the Holodomor, the taking people out of the Tartars out of Crimea and stuff, there was no genocide done by the Russians in the past then? Is that what you're saying? Wouldn't the Ukrainians
I'm
have
not
a
saying that at all. I'm not saying
wouldn't the
that at all.
Ukrainians also have a fear of genocide then?
I would say yes. Why not?
Hmm.
But how many different nationalities and different languages are there in Ukraine? What defines Ukraine?
What defines
What defines Ukraine? How many times has Ukraine been part of Russia and Poland been part of, and Crimea been part of Russia over the last
a couple
three,
hundred
four
years? Yeah.
centuries,
Hmm.
900 years?
Right.
I mean, there are parts of Ukraine that want to be in Russia, controlled by.
Well, then they could
I
vote
don't
on
think
it
there are any parts of Palestine
that want to be
that
with Israel. What about
that want Israel to keep up what they're doing. They want their rights, and they don't want to live in an apartheid state.
mhm.
And when people are in those positions, they resort to terror, or that's what their opponents call it.
Mhm.
But they fight back.
I would suggest the Ukraine's doing the same thing by fighting back, Jim.
The same thing. They're not in the same situation.
Okay, fair enough.
Sorry.
Yeah,
Though
okay, I'm going to agree to disagree on this.
the
But
big one of the biggest differences,
yes, please.
their skin color.
What?
Yes, one of the biggest differences between Ukrainians and Palestinians is the skin color, and how
There's
countries like
Arabians
how
in the
countries how
Israeli
countries
military.
how countries and how countries like United States and Western Europe treat brown-skinned people. And don't try to tell me that
Go ahead. Go ahead.
Arabs are treated equally in Israel, because they are not.
Arabs don't treat the people in Palestinian as citizens. I mean, there's not one country will take people from Gaza right now.
Now that's kind of
That's kind of the same thing, right?
no, that's kind
And
of racist. That's kind of racist. You think Arabs are a big monolithic thing throughout the
Well,
world, and they are not.
you're talking
And
about
just like Jews are not one big monolithic thing
no, they're not.
throughout the world, and
There's
they are
white
not.
ones, there's brown ones. I wanted to stay away from color coding, so that's why I said Arabians. But and when I think we talked about this last time when the Palestinians were in Jordan, they had their own military. They were going to topple the king, and the king booted them out of the country.
I don't know what that's got to do with this. It's
There is,
racism. It's racism, pure and simple.
well, then we have to take away all their toys, all of them. Iran, Hezbollah, Hamas, Israel, take away their toys and duke it out with fists then.
I don't know what you mean
And
by
be
this.
well, their missiles, their guns, their bombs, right?
Well, start with Israel. Start with the countries that really have nuclear weapons. Start with us, Russia, Israel, and, India. Does India have
Nuclear,
nuclear
yes.
weapons yet?
Yes, they do.
Well,
Well, yeah, the world's going to crap, I guess, right? Right, Jim?
we're the only country that's ever used nuclear weapons beings. So that should be a big red flag there, that you consider us the moral compass of the world, and especially in regarding what's happening in Ukraine.
Well, I've seen all the Hollywood movies, Jim. You guys put yourself as the moral majority in the world. It's your PR campaign.
Then why don't you leave Canada and live in Burbank, California? And every day you can walk across to Universal Studios and
I
Warner
have no
Brothers,
desire to go into the United States,
put
except
on
to
a
see you
clown
guys in
outfit.
Maine. I would go see you guys in Maine.
We're not part of any country.
No, you're not. You're not Maineless though.
We just have a lot of rocks and shale and
Hmm.
radon and crack houses and burning bar and
Yeah,
moose.
and cornhole. You have cornhole.
Cornholing, yes, but nobody wants to admit it.
True. Jim, I'm going to thank you for the conversation. I don't know if it was what you liked, but thank you very much for your opinion. I value it because you're older than me.
Yeah.
And I appreciate the wisdom of my elders.
When were you
Jim.
born? How old are you?
We've been through this before. I'm 63, Jim.
63.
Yeah, and you're in very good shape. Martha, happy birthday to Martha. Martha's treating you well, obviously, because you look good. You look good, Jim.
Well,
You know,
I live in a cold.
diabetes does wonders for a body.
Forrest says Israel is an apartheid state.
We don't listen to Forrest. Well,
Forrest
yeah,
knows what
yeah,
he's talking about.
for sure, for sure, sure it is. But that's why I'm a one state solution kind of guy. I think I'm let them all be part of the same country and let them all vote. Maybe not give the Palestinians the vote for 3 years though. Thank you, Jim. Thank you very much.
All right, whatever. See you in court.
You betcha.
And good luck tomorrow with your Harris vote.
You good luck to you tomorrow. I hope you guys vote the right way, and then the next election I hope you have better candidates.
We have ranked choice voting here. I
I
voted
like
for
that.
three candidates. Three
Okay.
candidates I voted for.
Awesome. You take care.
All right. Clean it with bleach.